to the computer. Awesome. Well, 2020, here we are, first weekend of January in a new year and a new decade. Who's ready to break records and transform our lives and serve so many people? Who's ready? Who's ready to level up? Who's ready to get in the game more than ever before? I'm so excited and so grateful, and my vision is exploding, and I'm excited to be here with you guys today and for the rest of the month. I know we have an awesome month of trainers coming up, and I know you guys are excited about that. But today I'm so grateful and honored and blessed to be able to introduce to you guys my business partner and my first direct regional vice president, Michelle Weinhofen. She has been such a huge blessing in my life, and I'm so grateful that Arbonne has brought us together. She's my soul sister. She inspires me every day, and we've grown so much alongside each other over the last year and a half. And she's going to share her story with you guys today. She's going to share some tips, and I'm just so proud. And so I'm like a proud mama bear over here watching and learning from her. So everyone, please welcome Michelle.
Thank you, Sammy. Hi, everyone. Oh, wow. Okay, let me just get my screen. Okay, can everyone hear me? I can't see anyone, I guess, so it doesn't matter. Okay, cool. So I am Michelle Weinhofen, and I just promoted to Regional Vice President at the end of November. And if you were on the call a few weeks ago or so, Sammy and Laura Northgraves shared their story, and they both promoted to RVP a year apart on the same day on November 30th. And I did it again the next year on November 30th. And I think hearing their story before I went RVP, something kind of ingrained into my mind where I was like, okay, I have to do that. I have to keep the tradition going. But needless to say, we don't want to only promote an RVP next year on November 30th. We want to crank them out a lot sooner than that. But it was kind of cool how that all played out. So I'm so honored to be speaking here, a little nervous because this is my first time sharing with a broader group than just our team. But yeah, I'm so grateful for all of your guidance, Sammy, and everything that you've shared with me along the way, and Lauren as well, and my whole team. Just thank you to everyone in advance. So I'll share, I wrote some notes, so pardon me if I keep looking to refer back to them. And my family's just about to leave to go out, but they're a little late. I was like, I have a call, please leave. But so if you hear people kind of in the background, that's what that is. So like I said, we finished region on November 30th of, now last year, 2019. We went into RVP call on October 31st on Halloween night. And so that was a really exciting way to kind of bring in Halloween and enjoy that time of the year. I'll share my story first and then share what my numbers looked like, my activity looked like, some takeaways that I had, mindset shifts, all those things. So my story, before Arbonne, I was a yoga instructor and energy healer. Before that, I was in the entertainment industry and worked in acting and modeling and literary management. So I was always kind of a jack of all trades, and I always liked to be an entrepreneur. I had entrepreneurial parents. I had started a swimwear line at one point, so I really loved working for myself. I had worked in retail a few times where I did have a boss to report to, and that was always really stressful for me because I was so used to being able to set my own schedule and live life by my terms. So I knew that there was always something kind of pulling me back into that way of life. When I actually, long before I found Arbonne, my best friend in high school and her mom used it, and I didn't know anything about it. I just thought it was this fancy pants skincare brand that I knew nothing about, and that was it. I had tried it maybe once or twice, and fast forward to more than 10 years later, 10 to 13 years later, it's been so cool to look back on that and know that it was kind of planting seeds in my mind to then later realize, like, oh my gosh, like, it's so cool to see how it's panned out. So I have a 1.5-year-old now, but I was 7 months pregnant at the time that I found Arbonne. And so like a lot of mamas, I wasn't in a normal, corporate 9-to-5 type situation. I was, teaching yoga, and that is still trading time and energy for money. And I knew that once my son Leo was born, it wasn't going to make sense for me to get a babysitter, go teach yoga, make the money. It was pre-tax, like pay for gas all the time, pay taxes, then pay the babysitter, and then probably have nothing left over, even be in the negative. And so I was like, okay, that's not going to be a sustainable option for me to live. And I really enjoyed having something to bring in income. And I loved just kind of being a go-getter. I always kind of had that energy in me, but I wanted to be at home with my son. I wanted to raise him. I wanted to be there for those milestones. So just through the act of setting the intention, just kind of being like, okay, what can I do that is going to be able to help me stay at home with my son? Please come find me, land in my lap. And I, started looking online. I was like, okay, what kind of jobs are online? The first thing that came up was taking surveys. So I actually took surveys online and made I don't even think I made enough to get paid out. You had to make over $10. I might have made $7. And I was taking survey after survey, and it was just not a sustainable way of making money online. And I was like, okay, well, at least I tried that. There's got to be something better. And within that week, Sammy on Instagram messaged me. I didn't know her yet, but I think has some mutual friends in common on Instagram. And I don't even remember what her message said. And I had received other messages now looking back that were about network marketing and people trying to share their business with me. But I never really responded to those messages. Nothing pulled me to reach out or respond back. So I was definitely on the other end of that. Now when I do my reach outs, I'm like, okay, I didn't respond to a lot of people. So I've been at both ends. But Sammy just shared something with me in that message that really resonated with me, and something pulled me to hear her out. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll listen to what she has to say. And I'm so happy I did. At first I was a little hesitant, but there's something in my belly that told me hey, this is it. You asked for something and this is it coming into your life. And I don't think that fully connected until after I actually started working the business and I was really moving and grooving in my business. And there's a few moments where I was these aha moments of looking back and being oh my gosh, this is crazy. That's actually panning out. So, ask and you shall receive, right? Or be careful what you wish for. And so I wanted something to stay at home with Leo, and boom, it landed in my lap. I'm vegan. I was always looking for something like that. I was really mindful about what I was putting on my body and in my body, especially while pregnant. So this was something that I could really get behind and I aligned with because of all of our amazing points and things about the products and the company. And so I didn't know why I said yes. I was I just have to do this and try it. I have nothing to lose. And I'm so happy that I did. I feel a lot of us kind of have that start where we're I don't know why I'm doing this, but I know why, but a little fearful, a little scared, but excited all the same. So I jumped in April of 2018. So I was 7 months pregnant. I tried the products. I had really bad skin during pregnancy. I had all hormonal breakouts or whatever was causing that. I tried so many different things and nothing worked. Even the, really clean. I would sit in Whole Foods for minutes, scanning the back of labels and being okay, I can get this one and try it. And then it didn't work. So when I was talking with Sammy, she's just try anything. I was I don't need the acne line. She's no, just whatever you feel called to. And I tried the prep work line first. And in 2 weeks, my skin had cleared up and I was amazed. And so that was kind of the biggest selling point for me right off the bat. And I was okay, this stuff works. And so that was kind of my first really big glimpse into how amazing our products really were. And just from there, I continued to love everything that I continued to try. And I had done the 30 days postpartum. So I was really, really hooked on everything Arbonne had to offer. So I didn't actually jump into working the business until about July. So from April to July 2018, a few months, I was just being with my son, trying to gain my energy back. And then finally I was okay, I think I'm ready. And it took me 4 months to get to district manager. I went into qual, I remember in July, and I just kept hitting that 1,000 PQV and just kind of kept trying to grow my team. I didn't even know what I was doing at the time. I just remember Sammy being oh, you're close to this, keep going. And I, looking back, I was I don't know how I got to district, because I just, it's the excitement and that sharing and that passion. But if it's if I knew what I knew now, if I knew then what I know now, but of course this journey is all about that, that growth and that expansion and that personal development. And so it took me 4 months to get to DM. And then from there, it took me 10 months to get to area. So from when I started, 10 months to area manager. And GTC last year was coming up, and I was like, I'm going to that Pure Vibe party. So I realized, like, as I was writing down my story, like every time I say I'm going to do something, I do it because I just hold myself accountable. And sometimes I feel like I might waver with that. And, you know, it's the emotional roller coaster of like, can I do it? I don't know. But every time I say I'm going to do something, I'm like, I guess it just pans out because I didn't think I was ever a competitive person, but I'm competitive with myself. Like I hold myself accountable to the goals and the dreams that I set myself up for. So um, Pure Vibe was coming up and GTC was coming up. I was like, I have to be an area manager by that time. And so I went into qualification of for area manager February of 2019, and I finished it in 3 months. So we finished in April, end of April 2019, and so then GTC was in May last year. And looking back, it was like everyone's, you know, time and time again, people are going to go like, you have to decide, and there's 2 dates, and so I didn't even really fully decide when I was going for district manager. Like, yes, like the thing that kept me going was to stay at home with my son. If I didn't have that why, I wasn't really sure, like, you know, I don't have anything to compare it to, but I don't know if I would have pushed as hard, or if it was just me that was holding myself accountable, but it was my son. It was, you know, also living paycheck to paycheck. I don't know if a lot of us can relate to this, but that was my story for my whole adult life. Yes, I was working jobs, but, you know, it was here and there. It was sporadic. It wasn't consistent. And that was a comfortable discomfort that I was in, and this pattern, and I didn't know how to get out of it. I was, you know, had credit card debt, I had all these things. So those were other whys in my Arbonne business, was to get out of debt, to get out of this, like, you know, going into the negative in your bank account and then worrying about when bills are going to be paid, and somehow it works out and then you're like, oh, okay, good. And then it starts all over again. And Sammy, our team works a lot with like listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza and studying the mind body connection and neuroscience and quantum physics, and how the mindset really depicts our reality. And so we get addicted to this release of stress hormones and all these things that happen. And so I was like addicted to the stress of being uncomfortable in my financial situation. And even though like I thought I wanted to get out of it, we kind of get stuck in this rut and this pattern. And if we don't change our daily habits and our daily routine, then like we're going to stay in the same spot. So I knew that this business was going to be something to pull me out of that. And little going back, my husband is Australian, and we would like to travel back and forth before we had our son, and he was a musician for his whole life. And then when we bought our house and had our son, he was in a 9-to-5 job. And so that my other why was to let him come home, and so he could write music again and be passionate about what he was doing. So I made my why bigger than myself. I made my why more than, you know, just about me, and like wanting to, yes, of course, pay off debt is amazing, but there was my son tied to my why, my husband tied to my why, and giving back to my family and all these amazing things. So I think having something that really pulls at your heart, that really tugs at you, and like kind of not uncomfortable, but that like in that churning and that, oh, like that desire to really strive for more because there's something really valuable attached to it. So going back to being at GTC, I went as a team of 1. I had a team, but we were all over, and I was the only person that made it to GTC. And I had the lovely chance to hang out with Sammy's uplines and a team there. So that was a really fun experience. And the one main thing that I took away from GTC, other than all the beautiful nuggets, was everyone, all the NVPs and everyone was like, don't quit, just keep going. And I was like, okay, like I'll just keep trekking along. And even the girl in the bathroom at the Pure Vibe party, she was like, don't quit. And I was like, oh, hey, like we're waiting to use the bathroom. And she had started her Arbonne business, stopped, quit, and then started again. And she's like, I can't imagine where I would have been now if I just kept going and I didn't have that break. And of course, that's part of her story and her journey. But it's just cool to see other people's knowledge and, you know, sharing their hindsight and using that to help you propel in your business. And so I counted who's registered for GTC, and we're going back as a team of 12 this year, which is so exciting. And it's just cool to look back on the growth. And I feel like it's not as rewarding if we don't have these moments of like, I was here and now I'm here, and look at, you know, how far we've come. And so I think it's so important to honor where you're at and keep your vision for where you're going, but really enjoy the process because it's so beautiful. Now I'm getting emotional. Like I knew it was going to happen. Sam and I are like always crying on calls together, but it's we want to race to RVP or NVP, and while that's amazing and that's sometimes someone's journey in their story, like maybe we see these people promoting so quickly, and that's to maybe hold ourselves accountable and inspired by others, but don't let it bring you down and slow you down. Like, use it as momentum for your own business, but don't use it as a roadblock when you start comparing, because it's just like, you can't compare someone's story to another. And I remember wanting to go really fast. I was like, oh, I'm going to zip to RVP. And yes, I went fast in comparison to some people's journeys, but I went slower in comparison to others. And I wouldn't have been like, knowledgeable the way I am now about like running my business, growing my team, helping them work towards their goals, if I zipped forward. Like, would you really be ready next month if you stepped into an RVP role or an NVP role or whatever it is that you're working towards? Like, could you really say that you're ready to hold that title from a mental place, a activity situation? Like, how do you feel right now? Like, would you be ready for it? Are you still in that growth period? And so I can hear my son coming down the stairs. Like, would you be actually ready to do that? And if you feel like, oh, like, yes, I want that, but I'm not quite ready, like, that's just a sign to know that like you're in the right place right now, because you're going through the lessons and the growth that you need to go through in order to step into that role. And that's what I really realized, is that I wouldn't have had all of this, growing into each level. Exactly. And that was something that I really focused on, was sponsoring to a point where I grew into my next management position. I didn't want to stretch for it and reach for it to a point where it was really unattainable to keep the maintenance. Leah, sorry guys. So it was where it would be unattainable to like maintain my next management position, like not rushing into it to a place where like you're able to grow into district, you're able to grow into area. If you're continuing to hit your bonus and then you naturally grow into the next management position, it's going to feel so much more good and not stressful if you're building to a place where you exceed your maintenance and you're able to continue to bonus into your next position. So where was I here? So I'll share my RVP qual numbers and stuff. So November of 2018, when, so last 2 years ago, I guess, year about, I did as a district 6,961. So I was looking at my numbers, and I did 9 new that month of November 2018. So that was a year from when I finished RVP. So when we went into qual in October of 2019 for regional vice president, we did 40,916, and we had 53 new. And then when we finished in November of 2019, it was at 55,300 roughly, and we had 51 new. I'm like, we had more new the first month, but so I know sometimes sharing numbers is helpful for people to see, but I calculated our growth, and our growth was 694% from November 18 to November 19. And I didn't do anything magical or anything different other than being consistent and going and going and going and going and going. And I wasn't someone who would start and stop. I'll be super transparent in saying that my activity wasn't the same every single day. Like, as a new mom, sometimes my energy, or like my son would be napping and I'd have a little bit more time, or just I would always make sure that I'm doing something to grow my business, or I'm doing reach outs or follow-ups and checking in with my team. But I'm not the person that said, oh, I sat down and did 5 reach outs every single day for an entire year and like whatever. So some days I would reach out to one person, some days it would be 10, some days. So for me, it wasn't like, I tried to create this benchmark in order to make myself feel like, okay, this is like what I could keep up with. But to be honest, like some days I wasn't able to keep up with it, but the next day I'd want to come back and make sure that I made up for anything that I didn't do the day before or the week before. And so my consistency was staying the course and continuing to do the activity, but it wasn't the same every day. And that's my journey. And some people thrive off of being able to be like, okay, I wake up, I do this, and this, but my son wasn't sleeping well, which means I wasn't sleeping well. And so I had to work around my situation to make sure that I could still build my business in a way that wasn't going to burn me out. And that's another thing I found, is finding balance in your business. I have some people on my team that go like, like how much activity is too much activity to the point where I'm going to burn out? And you want to find what that is for you. Like, yes, we want to work our business consistently and grow it to a beautiful place, but we don't want to do it to a point where we go full out for 4 months and then we feel exhausted and we quit. And then like all the momentum that we built starts to fizzle out. So, find joy in your life and find things other than Arbonne, even though Arbonne's like a huge source of my joy and my happiness in my life and the people that I get to work with and the people that I get to help. I have other things outside, like even if it's just taking my son to the park for an hour and keeping my phone off and not checking it, I'm able to check out and balance my energy and balance my life in a way where, yes, Arbonne is helping me create this beautiful life, but I need to have that balance in order to feel like I'm filling my cup again and I'm not burning the candle at both ends. And so I'll share some main takeaways that I had. Or I guess, so I'm going to go back and forth a little bit, but just reading off my notes. When I was at GTC, I remember sitting there and watching the RVPs walk the stage. And then of course, everyone else walking the stage as they earn their awards and the NVPs. And I was like, I'm coming back next year as an RVP and I'm going to bring a team. And so like, that's what we're doing. That's like another thing. Like every time I declare something that like makes me feel a certain way, makes me feel excited and passionate, I make it happen. And so like speaking into existence, like what you want to create, like writing it down. I'll share a little bit later, like my practices for the day and like my manifestation process, if you will, of like how I work my business. But so consistency was key for me. I know like sometimes we get the momentum and it's not so much about motivation, but discipline. We hear this time and time again, like you have to be disciplined in order to work your business. So it doesn't take motivation. Sometimes people are like, how do you stay motivated? And I'm like, well, putting on a call or training is motivating, but sometimes I don't feel like it. And I just come back to my why. I come back to, okay, I'm doing this to pay off my debt. I'm doing this to stay at home with my son. I'm doing this to bring my husband home. And so I kept coming back to those reasons that are going to propel me forward. And then, making this bigger about your team, like helping your team be successful and helping your team hit their goals. And so as you say yes to this, you realize it's so much more than just you. And of course, going RVP was a blessing and I'm so grateful and it's amazing. But as I got to it, I'm like, okay, like it's not about just this, it's about everything else that's going to come out of it and helping my team get to where I am and beyond. And so coming back to those main things, and creating a huge vision, like, and if making a vision too big is daunting or overwhelming, like start small, like start with those baby steps. Like maybe you're a brand new consultant and have district manager be your vision. And then once you get district manager, have area manager be your vision and just continue to expand upon your vision. It doesn't have to all of a sudden be like, I'm brand new to Arbonne and I want to be a 4-wide ENVP, which is amazing if that's how you operate, but maybe baby steps is a little bit better to, like when we're working on obtaining a goal, we have to believe that we're able to actually get that goal. Like if we don't believe that we're going to be able to be in a 4-wide ENVP, then maybe tailor your goal back a little bit and be like, okay, like I believe that I can be a district manager. And like, that's a huge thing. Like if we believe we can, we will. If we believe we can't, we won't. And the mindset's so huge. So, and what I love about Arbonne is that we are so focused on personal growth and development aside from all the business aspects. And I've always been like a junkie for personal growth and development. And it's really challenged me to step up to the plate in areas where I might not have before. And I'll share a little bit about like the fears and setbacks that I've had. My biggest fear in this business was fear of judgment and getting over, like already that makes me feel emotional. And I realized like even as a new RVP, I still am scared sometimes to share this business with people, but I do it anyways because like no one's benefiting from me staying in my comfort zone and I'm not benefiting from me staying in my comfort zone. And so like I have moments of like this fear come up, but then, I take a deep breath and I do a dance party as Sammy's like, shift your energy, especially as I was working towards area. I'd call her and be like, on the last day we needed to have, however many thousands to finish or maybe, no, it was area qual. When we finished our area promotion, we blew past it and that was really helpful. But Sammy's like, put on some music, do a dance party, get over yourself. Like, let's change your energy, like shift your energy, like make it, we don't want to be vibrating at a lower frequency where it's in fear and lack and anything that kind of goes in that category. We want to shift it back to joy, to service, to happiness, to those good feelings. And so, this also when you're doing your reach outs or follow-ups or anything business related, don't do it from a place of anxiety or fear. And it's normal and okay to have those feelings come up, but shift your energy first before you do your reach outs. Shift your energy first before you share something with someone, because that's going to carry a long way. If you have this hesitancy or this awkwardness, and that's all fine, because that's me too, but just take a moment and gather yourself and really allow yourself to come to a place of, okay, like, how can I serve this person? And I forget who shared this. Someone did on another call that I was watching, but they said that they visualize the person that they're reaching out to at their car party and visualize this person succeeding in their business long before they even say yes. And so I would do that. I'm like, okay, like visualizing Ashley or Sarah or Amanda or Mark or whoever, like watching them at their car party, seeing their team surrounding them, their family, their loved ones, and watching them be successful in this business. And then, okay, I'm going to reach out to them. And then that energy that comes with that is so much more vibrant and exciting and full of vision and passion versus like, oh, I have to do reach outs, but I don't really want to. And like, okay, I guess I'll just do it. My upline told me to do it. And like, okay, whatever. So it's like, there's so much difference between those two. So my fear of judgment came up a few different ways. On Instagram, I had grown a following of some beautiful people, but through the yoga community. I shared my yoga practice and my yoga journey, and then it turned into my pregnancy journey and my motherhood journey. And then all of a sudden it was my Arbonne journey. And I was so scared of sharing that I was doing network marketing, even though I totally believed in it. But it was that I was scared of what I thought other people might be thinking. They might not have even thought about it. They might not have even cared. They might have scrolled past my story, not even listened to what I have to say. But I was so frozen and paralyzed by fear of, oh, Michelle's doing one of those things. And these aren't even people I really know. Like, yes, it's my friends and my family and other people, but a lot of them are like people I've never met. And I was just so scared of this, this fear of like people thinking that I don't even know, like and it's still something I work on to this day. I'm a lot better at it, but know that like, you know, you're not alone, and we're all part of this community together. And I think that's why we bond so well. You know, even sidelines, not necessarily upline or success line, we're able to come together on commonalities and, you know, so many different things. Not only the fears, feel the fear and do it anyway. And that was a big part of my going area journey. When I decided, I was like, okay, I'm going area because I have 3 months before GTC comes around. Every time when I was going for area qual, a fear came up. I was like, okay, what's my fear? Reaching out to so-and-so. And then I was like, okay, what's the opposite of that fear? Reaching out to them instead of not reaching out to them. So I would always do the opposite of what that fear was, because the fear is the ego trying to keep us safe and comfortable because it's scared of growth and change and the unknown. But in order to grow, we need to come out of that comfort zone. So every time I was scared to do something, I would take a moment, take a breath, and then do that thing. Like scared to post something on my story, I'd post it on my story. Scared to reach out to someone, I'd reach out. So challenge yourself to do something like that. Every time you see a fear come up, acknowledge the fear, say that it's okay, and it's you know, being recognized for it, you know, trying to save you or help you in some way, even though it's not really helping us, but it's illuminating areas in which we can grow upon. So, you know, then continuing to, you know, do a little bit every day. And sometimes, you know, we're not perfect at it and we're not amazing at working past our fears, but just the effort and the trying. And so much of this is going to help you just continue, like baby steps, one foot in front of the other. It doesn't have to be these grand, big macro changes, but working on the little things day to day. And maybe you haven't reached out to someone for a really long time because it's just, we're too scared, but maybe just one person. Like we say, activity solves everything in this business. Listen to a training, reach out to someone, and you'll feel the energy change. You'll feel your mindset change. You'll just feel this excitement, and then let that carry on through the rest of your day, the rest of, you know, your week, and continue to build upon that. Another thing, Sammy wanted me to share this. So I always recommend to my team now and myself as I continue to build my business is try new things. Like sometimes we're really good at doing events and parties. Sometimes we're really good at capitalizing on our social media or whatever our niche is, but trying to do different things and diversify your reach and your platform. I was terrified to go live on Instagram. So like terrified to the point where I cried. I was like frozen. And Sammy's like, we're going to go live. We're going to talk about the 30 days. And I was like, I don't want to, like a little kid not wanting to go to summer camp or something and scared to like leave the nest. But Sammy went on with me. And afterwards, I was so exhilarated and I felt so on fire that I was like, I could do this all the time. And like, I just felt so good pushing past that fear. But it was so paralyzing where I was like, I can't do this. And then, you know, we did it and everything was okay. I didn't disintegrate into dust or like light on fire, and everything was fine. And my business like was able to reap the benefits of me stepping into my courage and out of my comfort zone. Another thing I'll just briefly touch on is money mindset was a huge thing that really helped me in my business. Is like, yes, I was working on all these other things with my mindset, but how did I approach money and how was I raised to approach money and what's ingrained in my mind about like, is it good? Is it bad? Is it all these things? And so as someone I recommend for money mindset is the Manifestation Babe podcast. She's on just the Apple Podcasts or wherever you can find podcasts. That really helped me with money mindset. There's also the You Are a Badass at Making Money. I'm going to probably butcher her last name, but Jennifer Sincero, I think, or something like that. Yeah. But she has the You Are a Badass book and then You Are a Badass at Making Money. And so just continuing to look at, you know, through this business, if we are successful and we help other people create the dream life that they want, we're going to be blessed for it with abundance. So we have to be worthy, feel worthy of it and feel accepted of it. And that can sometimes hinder our growth if we feel like we're not worthy of receiving a certain amount of money or whatever that is. So that was another thing, like, and also feeling okay to sell stuff. Like, yes, like we say we don't want to feel salesy and we're not in sales and we're in the personal development business and we have these beautiful products attached to it, but we are selling things and that's okay. Like people are already buying these things. And so we're here to offer them an amazing, beautiful option. And so like coming from the place that when you do reach outs to be okay with selling things, but we're doing it from an aligned place, a excited place, a place full of you know, hope and wonder and amazing ingredients and all these things. So there's no shame in being a person that's in sales because we are in direct sales. So I think accepting that, digesting that, and knowing that we're worthy of being in this business because it's like it's everywhere. We're in like one of the biggest industries in the health and wellness industry. And so I was talking about getting over fear of judgment. So I guess I'll talk about my activity and what it looks like for the most part. I don't know how I'm doing on timing, Sammy. I can't see my clock, but so my activity, like I said, it wasn't consistent in terms of like 5 reach outs, 10 reach outs, 2 reach outs every day, but it was, you know, sometimes I'd have like reach out to a couple people and then get on one call. And so as I was building my business and working on sponsoring, I was trying to get in front of 30 to 40 faces or more. And see Lexi commenting the time. So sometimes I'd have one call. Sometimes I'd have 3 to 4. And sometimes when we were really pushing towards a promotion or pushing towards some big goal, I'd have 9 calls sometimes. And that would be like overwhelming, but I'm like, okay, let's grab a fizz and let's do this. And that wasn't just me. That was helping my team do Discover Arbonne calls or welcome calls. So it was a little bit of everything, but I was doing my own Discover Arbonne calls with, you know, potential business partners, as well as helping my team and helping them build their businesses. So I was trying to do a little bit of everything, but trying to stay consistent. And also too, like finding that balance again, you know, my husband works a 9 to 5. He wants to see me on the weekend. So I also honor that, like, okay, Sunday might be family time. Maybe I squeeze in a call really quickly, and he's been really supportive and understanding. Thank goodness. I know not everyone has that situation. And luckily he's just been very supportive of my journey. But sometimes he was like, oh, like, do you have to do calls today? I'm like, I'm doing this for a reason. Like, I'm doing this for us. So like, you know, if you have loved ones that want to spend time with you and want your time and your attention, like make your time with Arbonne count. Like really, like let your activity be your activity. And then you can, you know, take time with your family. But if, you know, if we're working towards a goal, like really let that time count and work towards the goal so that you can have more time with them later. And so I just kept my activity moving. I made sure I did something that was working towards my business every single day, and listening to trainings and podcasts and all that kind of lumped in. If I was driving, you know, listening to a training on SoundCloud or YouTube or something that our team shared. So I was always trying to add in something of value that was going to keep me excited and motivated to stay disciplined. And one big takeaway I had, especially finishing region in November, a couple months ago, was to not next month my business. I know I've heard a lot of people talk about this. So I had this plan to do an event and have people over and come sample the products and do like a gifting of sorts for the holidays so people can shop for themselves or loved ones. And I was like, it was like 1 week left of November. And I was like, oh, it's too short of notice. I don't think people are going to come. Like maybe I'll just do it next month. I have another month to finish. Cause I was so used to finishing my, district in 4 months, area in 3 months. So I was like, oh, I can just do region in 3 months. Like it's fine. And I was like, no, like I don't need to get used to that pattern. Like that's fine. But I wanted to really finish it in 2 months, maybe because of the November 30th thing with my upline and then Lauren as well. But Sammy's like, no, I think you should really do the party. And so I did it. And if we didn't do that, and I think it was on close day. Yeah, it was on close on the 30th. And if I didn't do that event, I wouldn't have finished region that month. So because I was like, thinking about doing the party next month, and I decided to do it this month and do it now and act now, it completely changed the course of my goal and finishing region. I was like, I wouldn't have finished it. So if you're putting things off till tomorrow or next week or next month, try doing something today that will help you work towards your goal. And if it's a party, doing it now. And I think there's this lack mindset that I had. I was like, oh, if I don't reach out to them now, I'll have more people to reach out to next month. And then like, I had this false sense of security thinking that if I had all these people lined up next month, it would be helpful. But if we are open to letting the universe bring in this abundance, then if we continue to reach out to people and have this intention of serving and helping, then more and more people are going to continue to come into our field to be served and helped. So if we tell the universe, or just like the cosmos, the energy, God, if we're like, hey, I only want a handful of people to like come to me and so I can reach out to them because I'm going to wait till next month to do it. Like that's going to be the energy that's reflected in our business. But when we have this like bigger vision, like that we're going to completely be provided for, there's a plethora and a abundant amount of people that are looking for a business like this, that's going to be reflected. So don't be scared to not reach out to someone because you're like worried about not having enough people next month or whatever it is. Now I'm going on a tangent, but let me go on to some of my main things. So I just wrote some words down. Be strong, confident, have conviction and discipline, because we know that this business doesn't take confidence, it takes courage. And through building that, being courageous, it'll build confidence. And so, like I said, I'm still scared to reach out sometimes. Yes, we've worked towards our VP and it's helped me work on certain mindset things along the way, but it's been challenging. I'm still scared, but I do it anyways because I know that there's a bigger purpose and there's a bigger vision and there's more people attached to this goal than just me. Stay consistent is huge because I've seen people that have this is just for me to compare my own journey, my own timeline, but other people that have started around the same time that have quit since. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And people on my team that were like, they started and they got super, fiery off the bat, but then they fizzled out. And I'm like, they could have been far along, like if they didn't quit. And so, yes, I'm not here to like drag everyone with me, and it's everyone's own individual journey with Arbonne and with life. But it's interesting to reflect on, like the consistency really, really, really pays off because you never know what's going to enter into your business. You never know who's going to say yes to you and completely run with it and run with you. And so I think also holding that vision of excitement and hope and trust that it's all going to work out, and trusting the journey and trusting the time. And that was another thing, is like sometimes we don't know how we're going to hit a goal or how we're going to finish something, but believing that it's going to happen, that was a game changer for me. And after listening to certain podcasts and things about surrender, that was a huge thing. It's just like trusting the process and releasing, because when we have this resistance and this anxiety and this stress, and we can feel it in our body, our stomach gets tight, like we aren't breathing, our shoulders get tight, and like that's the energy that we're bringing in. And so that's going to kind of create blockages for this abundance to flow to you and through you. But if we relax and we breathe and we feel good and we feel happy, then that's going to be reflected in the energy that comes forth in our business. And I had this, so I'll share some of my practices as I close out, but like I was excited like a little kid on Christmas. I listened to this training and they were talking about like, be excited about what you're manifesting, what you're bringing in, what goal you're working towards. Like it's almost Christmas Day and you're so excited that it's coming. Like you feel good. You can feel it in your body, and make this a practice to like, and maybe this isn't something that you're familiar with or used to, but like get into this mindset of like, I'm going to practice each day to get into this place of excitement where I can feel an energetic change in my belly, in my heart, in my mind. And it kind of lights you on fire. And so, you know, like, to the point where you get goosebumps and it's not cold out, or like you're in your house and you're warm, but you have like the hair rising on your arms, your neck, and you just get really fired up for what this can create. Come into that place, like shift out of fear mode, shift into excitement mode. And like that, just making it a practice over and over and over again. And that's what it is. It's like, we don't all of a sudden like listen to a certain amount of trainings and all of a sudden be like, okay, like I'm always positive and always happy and like always really good at keeping my mindset straight. We have to, you know, if fear or doubt or hesitation or worry or anxiety comes in, we have to make the practice of slowing down that momentum. So it's like, we can't drive on the freeway at 65 miles an hour and immediately expect us to go 65 miles an hour instantly the other direction. That's like how we're trying to shift our vibration. So if we're going, you know, in a negative mindset, or for lack of a better word, you know, lower vibrational mindset, we have to pause. We have to watch it. We have to identify it and say, thank you for alerting me as to like what I shouldn't be doing. Thank you for showing me. And now I'm going to change it. So shifting to the next best feeling thing, the next best feeling thought that you can land upon. So maybe it's like coming to that gratitude practice, which I was going to say is like, gratitude has changed the course of my business and changed the course of my life. And it first started postpartum, where I was feeling like, I don't know if I was technically having postpartum depression, but like the baby blues period where your hormones are all wacky, you're not sleeping, there's all this new change. And I would get into a really dark place mentally. And so the way that I would pull myself out of it is shifting to gratitude, shifting to being grateful for my home, shifting to being grateful for my son's health, my health. And then that carried on into my business. Is like anytime I had a negative thought, I would shift back into a positive mindset. One time I went through my entire list of my team, active or inactive, and I verbally out loud said their name and thanked them for being part of my journey in my Arbonne business. And I went through every single name and just like coming into this place of being so grateful for every order. And I learned this from Sammy. She's like, be grateful for every dime that was spent in your business, every person that came through your business door, so your online website. And like when we focus on that heart-centered energy and that love and that excitement, that's what's going to be reflected. So I practice gratitude journaling every day. A lot of the time people like to do it in the morning, but I actually did it at night because it was my alone time, my quiet time after my son went to sleep. I'd write down 3 things I was grateful for, and then I wrote some affirmations. I would always write, so as I was working towards area manager, as I was working towards region, I would say, I am an area manager with Arbonne. Before I was an area manager, for 3 months while I was working, every day, I am an area manager, I am an area manager. And then I said, I am thankful for my massive global team and thriving business. And I affirmed that every single day, wrote this down with my gratitude practices. And then when I became an area manager, I wrote down, I am a regional vice president with Arbonne International. And I wrote it down every single day, every single day. And it was that consistency, apart from my activity in my business, was the practicing of gratitude, the practice of affirmation, saying it out loud, speaking belief into myself, and like changing my mindset through words of affirmation and through these practices. And I would do this visualization practice once I got in bed and as I'm about to fall asleep. It's one of the times when your subconscious mind is the most susceptible to change. As I was falling asleep, I would see myself walking the stage at GTC. I would see my team promoting. I would see myself at my Ben's Bash. I would see all these things that I wanted to bring in, and I would do it every single night, like a meditation, and like bringing that into my subconscious as I was drifting off into bed. And now I'm changing my vision of what I see at night. But you know, what you're working towards, like visualize that happening already and seeing the QV come in, seeing your business grow, seeing your team promote, seeing all these new business builders come into your organization. And then, so finding alignment, finding the flow, releasing resistance, stress, fear. I talked all about that. And I had written this down on my phone just as a note. And I feel like sometimes we put NVPs and RVPs or even area manager, whatever, like this goal on a pedestal because it might feel attainable. And, you know, sometimes people are like, oh, like almost starstruck sometimes when they talk about NVPs or whatever. And like, it's so amazing to be inspired by these people, but everyone starts from the same place. Everyone is, you know, a not normal person. Like everyone's so unique, but like they aren't doing anything differently other than the crazy activity. Like everyone has the tools and the ability to grow their business into what they want. And so we say MVP is the top 1% of our company, but it's because of their hard work and their willingness to do what the rest isn't willing to do. And so that was something that really dawned on me, is like, you know, people talk about, oh, it's only the 1%. And like, instead of that being like oh, if it's 1%, that like, I might not make it. That might not be me. Like, use that as a guideline or a guiding light to make you realize that it's the work that has to bring you into that 1%. Like, it's going to take hard work and consistency and growth and getting out of the comfort zone. But like, that's what all of that 1% has done more than the 99, is because they stayed the course. They kept going and going and going, when sometimes, you know, we end up fizzling out if we get too many no's or whatever. And I think I saw her on here earlier, but I was just thinking about Ashley Strong when she was saying, like, she's counting her no's. She's like, I want 10,000 no's or whatever it was, like, to show that, like, you know, that like as we get no's, we're getting more yeses. And it just means that we're closer to our next goal, or closer to building our business bigger and bigger. So hopefully I got out everything I was supposed to say. I'm going to stop talking now, but I think that's it.
Oh my gosh, that was incredible. Thank you so much, Michelle. You are incredible, and I'm so proud. I'm just over here smiling, and I'm just blown away by you, and so proud. And I think everyone got incredible nuggets. I love that you're able to bring, you know, your knowledge and gifts as an energy healer into your business and teach other people that, because it's so powerful. So love you, love you, love you. Thank you. And I will see you in 10 days with Maggie in Florida.
Yay! I see Maggie here. I'm so excited.
All right.
I see someone asking about the podcast. So Manifestation Babe. Her name's Catherine Zinkina. And I think Sammy was the one that like maybe shared it with me. But she's actually in network marketing before. Not Arbonne, but it's cool to hear kind of her takeaways and everything. But it's not all about money mindset, but it definitely helped. There's some podcasts on, or some episodes and stuff. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Have a beautiful Saturday. Thank you, Michelle. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.